of Saran history, and what better way to learn of that history than from those who have survived it? From Damon Baird, survivor of the Kilo Squad.
Welcome back to a new chapter of the Kilo Squad Survivor Series. We will start today, as we have started so many times before, with the field notes and the personal journal of Damon Baird and a letter to his mother and father yet again. Hi, Mom and Dad. So I've got my bars. Painless enough of a ceremony, hardly a ceremony at all. Just a lot of saluting and some knowing nods. First time someone called me Lieutenant, I started looking around before I realized he was talking to me. Turns out being an officer involves a lot more work than just pointing a gun and pulling a trigger. I've actually sequestered myself in an abandoned bookstore because it was the only place I could find a desk to do all this paperwork. Slothrops, it's called. It has a surprisingly decent technical writing section, and I've taken the liberty of borrowing a title or two, which I will bring back eventually, assuming there will be a store left to return them to. Being an officer is nice, but the more interesting angle is the squad reshuffle. There were 3 of us left in Kilo, including me. Cole, you know, and Janice you heard about. Janice got assigned to us once he got out of the infirmary. He didn't mention my having zapped him or the goggles before he requested a transfer. Well, old pal Janice is out, so Kilo's got a couple of new squaddies. SOFIA HENDRIK comes from a long line of decorated COG soldiers. Her genes are almost as good as mine. I mean, for fighting, I'm not trying to judge a beauty pageant. This woman is more of a soldier than I am, and then some. Her dad was a bit of a mobile operation who himself grew up moving around because, you know, military families, and I guess he'd gotten a taste for it. Guy had 10 kids in almost as many different cities around Sarah. Sophia was one of the few lucky enough to grow up with a sibling. Her dad usually didn't stay in the same place long enough for a second round. Anyway, older brother Jason Hendrick goes to the Pendulum Wars. Doesn't last long. Little sister drops out of school and starts hanging around the progressives. Gets wrapped up with the newspaper crew and works her way from pamphlet printer to Eagle reporter. Does some emplaced time with live squads. Sees some heavy stuff and writes the hell out of it. Sure, some other women have been there, but she was a kid. She was on a chopper over Aroma. That was 4 years ago. Anyway. She gets some attention. I remember a piece or two by her, but the Eagle never made much out of the fact that a young woman practically just out of pigtails was doing some of their best war reporting. They probably figured not everyone was ready to hear that. Cut to a year later. Sophia's enlisted, joins up for 2 years at the academy here in Halvo, makes Onyx Guard midway through year 2, adding another year. E-Day happens. Kid's a few months away from graduating, but the academy dumps her and a lot of her other Onyx candidates directly into the service. They're some of the best we got. Most of the other Onyx, come to think of it, have been ordered off to who knows where. I guess that's what they do. So now she's on my team. I can tell she knows a hell of a lot more about soldiering than I do. She knows it too. Doesn't care. I'm the officer and she's still a cadet. Hardly seems fair. Hell, it isn't fair. I'd put her in charge, but I know she wouldn't take it. It wouldn't be right to her. I guess you could say I don't understand much about her at all. I'll let you know what I find out. I'd love to fill you in on some more of Kino's final member, but let me give the last of this paperwork the boot before I call it a night. I'll try and write more in the morning. Signed, Damon. We come to find one of her commendations and a picture attached of SOFIA HENDRIK. A picture that Damon must have attached to this file in this folder for anybody to come across to know exactly who they were dealing with. You see her commendation for meritorious service. SOFIA HENDRIK, to whom it may concern, has received commendation and praise for outstanding performance of duty in the field of research by command of General Prescott Fidelis Vernula, an official Coalition of Order government document. The picture of Sophia as you can note by looking at it, she's actually wearing her cadet Onyx Guard armor. She's not a full Onyx yet. She doesn't have her helmet. But the sleek design, the waistband, the chest plate that covers up just enough for you to stay mobile but to keep you safe, all of it emblazoned in that dark black onyx color. She would wear it proudly. We turn to find her original assignment notes when she first enlisted, much like we saw with Baird and with Cole. First name, SOFIA. Last, Hendrik. Middle initial, not available. She was not married. She had no children. Her address was Preservation Dormitory 201A, Region 1. You see her home bearings and her admission number. But if you take a look at her aptitude results, what should stick out the most to anybody is how well-rounded she is. Mid to high 80s. The only thing she truly struggled with was technical ability. She wasn't one for the machines, but she was definitively a soldier. Her overall cognitive ability, her human relations, self-control, her discipline, perception, all scoring very high. She was definitely somebody that should be and would be recommended to be an Onyx. Her suggested placement was with the 4th Ephira Light Infantry. The bottom notation, though, is one of the most interesting parts of this entry. Enlisted as an attaché, open arms program, but she's assigned somebody. She's assigned to be at the hip of a different soldier, one Garon Paddock from Gorisnaya. You see, she has an attached article from a newspaper. Cog Cadet has a Way with Words by Percy Luck. Everyone on Sarah knows we are at war, but few civilians know war as thoroughly as the Onyx Guard's latest recruit. SOFIA HENDRIK is an award-winning reporter who has contributed to several of Sarah's hottest hot sheets, including this paper. But all that has been set aside so that she can join the Cog Elite. I've seen enough of the Pendulum Wars to realize that every gear on the field matters, she told us from a cafe near her Jacinto apartment, and it's not like this means I have to stop writing. Modest as she may be, Hendrik was a point. There's a time when all of us need to consider our duties as citizens of Tyrus. Civilian life is pleasant, but it is the men and women risking their lives fighting the UIR who ensure that the rest of us are able to continue living in the approved manner of our own choosing. Unfortunately, Hendrik is mistaken about her ability to report field data as an enlisted soldier, but the contribution she will make to the war effort as a member of the Onyx Guard will be far more significant than that of an overly intimate article on yet another UIR supply convoy attack. It is the opinion of this author that more journalists should follow her example. I would myself, but I have injuries. I played thrashball in college. An excerpt from the newspaper that she wrote from, The Eagle. As I close the book for the day, you will know that SOFIA HENDRIK was quite the invaluable piece to Kilo Squad. She was an amazing soldier, and as you could tell about how Baird wrote of her, he was fond of her ability in the field. That will conclude all for today's episode of the Kilo Squad Survivor Notebook. I hope you like this content. If you do, please leave a like, comment, maybe subscribe. And I hope that you will join us tomorrow. This is Colin the Crow Clark, and I am signing off.